Let's face it, new things are really hard to learn, am I right? Whether you are hoping to learn a new language, daydreaming about learning how to play an instrument, or preparing for an exam, things rarely go as well as planned. Others around you get it so much quicker than yourself, and you know exactly where you are at the same time. But trust me, it's not you. The bigger issue is the inappropriate way you've been learning. Today, I am super excited to unleash some science-based simple techniques you can use today that actually work. The best bit? These methods will not just help you learn faster, but they will turn learning into a fun. Crucial to learn something relevantly fast and relevantly well is to have the right focus. However, I do not mean that when I say focus, I mean like forcing yourself to read through the same 20 pages 1,000 million times because it will consume yourself. The brain has its own limitations. Work through them in the way that brain respects. If you want to increase your brain power, it is important to find the right balance with work and with rest. As science tells us, peak performance is a characteristic that most people reach during short, intense study period of 20 to 30 minutes. Hence, following this principle can be pretty effective in your study. A frequently used technique is the Pomodoro technique. For example, you work on a given task for 25 minutes and then have a 5-minute break. I take longer breaks after the fourth cycle because I know that I need to refresh my brain. It is simple but a very effective way to keep your brain active and memorize things fast. But the Pomodoro technique might not be for everybody. If that doesn't work, check out Pareto focus technique as an alternative. With this method, you begin by defining your objectives and then focusing on the 20% of activities that give you 80% of the results. If you are studying a concept, for example, the guts of what make up that idea, read onto minor material and wait for the details until later. It is especially good for people with busy schedules or multiple goals. Ultimately, no matter the tools that you select doing within accordance with your brain, because are the error that will turn into success. You are welcome to play with and see what groks for you the best. The right approach in combination with consistent execution will allow you to reach your goals sooner. Perhaps you are aiming to take on a related complex subject. At first, it seems a bit insane, doesn't it? One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to eat the elephant in one bite. When faced with this sort of problem, a good way to approach it is to resolve where you say, how do I split this subject into smaller digestible parts? Don't try to absorb it all at the same time. Set a goal and work on that within it. This method is not only more effective, it's a hell of a lot easier. Just think of the fact that you want to learn a new language. Okay, try to remember everything. Grammar rules, vocabulary, and so on. At one period will work only over your head and you will lose motivation soon. It is far more effectively to begin with the basics anyway, like basic phrases. As an example, phrases like, hello, how are you? Thank you, have a good day, will teach you the base of a language in order to allow you feeling more confident, introducing you its fundamental skeleton. These fundamentals can be expanded on with more elaborated sentences, vocabulary, and grammar eventually. There are literally dozens of benefits to take small steps. For one, it ensures that your motivation is through the roof because every little success adds to your confidence. The other reason is that it fixes the information. It gives enough time for you to consume and digest what you have read for real. But tread with care. The small step journey must be nurtured too in patience. Learning takes time and patience. You never rush into something. It takes monumental tomes of time to eat every piece of information for the next step to be built on. This method is not exclusive to language learning. Whether you are tackling math, science, or the subject you hate, breaking topics into smaller means you can start to get massive wins with much easier tasks. You must approach this process with patience and determination. The very best act of a journey begins with one step. Equally complex learning journeys must begin as one small step. Not only do you love the process of learning, but by doing this method you can have more lasting, more successful results. So are you in? Let's take those baby steps. But the truth is, sticking to tedious tasks is hard. All of us have been burnt out on topics we just don't care about or forced to work on mind-numbing activities. If you need a fun kick to what you are there to learn, that maybe makes the process feel a little less dues exoneration, because the brain works more when we are having fun, and hence it uplifts the learning process. Meaning you learn best when the information is enjoyable and it sinks in deeper. Well, how can one do that? There are some super fun ways to get fun and creativity into your learning. Try tools such as presentation, videos, games, or your favorite music. Alternatively, for instance, if you are studying history, don't just memorize the names, dates, but attempt to relate the topic to a scene from a movie or show you have watched. For example, during a lesson on a war that took place, say, 10 years ago, watching a movie version will create a more visual memory of it. In this manner, you are not just ingesting some data, but are also feeding your brain visuals and emotions. When you are learning a language, there are even more fun aspects you can add. Your first step for in the target language is probably to listen to your favorite songs. You can listen to the rhythm and melody even if the words remain cloudy because you do not understand the language. You will do some lyrics analysis in the later chapters to learn new words or work on sentence patterns. You can also use funny videos and sitcoms in that language to memorize the natural phrases. This serves the purpose of keeping fun with learning. Best way to have fun and learn a language with games. Educational games have been available for every subject these days. Puzzles in language learning, word or sentence, interactive maps for history or simulation games for science are not merely tools to educate, but they become also competitive fun. Boredom-killing fun is not the only or best motivator. Your brain will process information quite well when you make learning fun. You increase the release of dopamine, which speeds up memory and learning when what you like. Thus, go ahead and ask yourself, what could I do to make this boring subject less boring? In short, treat learning as a game or adventure and not dull mandate. Add images, songs, games, and other unique things because that you will discover how free and interesting learning really is. Now it is the turn of entertainment making those dull topics interesting. One of the fastest and most efficient method to actually learn something is to teach it another. When you attempt to explain a concept, you naturally organize your thoughts in your head for that person and thus expose the gaps of knowledge you have. Retaining it and moreover understanding it on an intuitive level would be done while going through this process. Also, explaining something lets you learn how to make sense of stuff for other people. Give it a go and explain a concept you learned to a friend or a family member at least weekly. If what you are attempting to convey has no one knowledgeable and understood audience on the other end and someone else who has no idea about subject, then you must try to convey it, which in turn fortifies your re-education blitz. Thankfully, the latter a great teaching tool too. Study in a notebook, take notes, and teach the topic out loud to yourself. Both memory, visual, and auditory are involved in this. Way knowledge sticks. Now you know a more fun way to do it is using your learning and turning it in a video or social media post. You can produce a YouTube video or reactive a short blog of just the topic in few lines. This not only embeds your understanding but also provides critical insights for others to learn. This is beneficial because you learn faster and at the same time joy of teaching to the world. The easiest way to remember what has been learned is by repetition. But this repetition should not be random, it must be done consistent. This is called spaced repetition method, yes, and in order for our brains to remember the information more permanently, it also stops the clock on forgetting. Correctly applied, it not just helps you learn faster, but also teaches you material to remember for a lot longer. Let us say that you have learned something new. Well, let's say for e.g., you initially read the topic, first read it after 1 day, then wait 3 days, read and review it again in a week, and finally again the next month. This spaced-out time interval tells the brain that it should remember it, because the information is shorter than memory. In life, I learned that your brain thinks in regular encounter information is important, so it will store it for longer. This method minimizes the effort that your brain has in order to remember stuff, so you learn way faster than normal with less voiding. Spaced repetition made simple, you can use digital tools and apps. A lot of them remind you at review times for key material. Using this approach helps you utilize your downtime very effectively as you do not need to manually manage when you review. You will experience a far more effective learning process and much less of an effort if you implement this method. Fearing to make a mistake? Don't be. One of the simplest and natural ways in which we humans learn is if we make mistakes. When you mess up, your brain goes over what happened step by step and then you learn from that. Every single mistake you make is one step further towards betterment, really. Every incorrect thing you do, learn the correct, as the old wisdom goes. You make more mistakes, thus you will learn faster. Which probably means to you, you used a wrong word or incorrectly formed a sentence when speaking a language? Awesome. This is an exclusive chance to learn the actual form. The moment you identify where your mistake lies helps to fix that knowledge in your head. When I try anything new, regarding skill-wise, failure is simply halfway there, another step on the road to becoming better. Failures indicate your shortcomings and are a very important compass pointing towards better. Mistakes are a big part of success, and one should not be ashamed in any circumstance for doing so. The master path is one lined with failure. Instead of fearing what made you wrong, see your mistakes as opportunities to learn and improve. Now each error is a rung in the ladder of your life, propelling you up. Well then, be fearless in making mistakes, but at the same do so with a massive smile on face and learn. We have the capability to learn besides just reading. Most of us learn by experience. So the action step in the whole learning curve is one of the most important stages. Theoretical learning is a must, but actual learning begins when you implement the theory, because we learn better and remember more when we are physically involved with the data. Do not read or listen to the theoretical. You should begin practicing coding right after you read. Code stuff, create your projects, make mistakes, and correct them. If you are learning a language, fill in the new words and phrases that you have learned in your daily conversations. Do not be afraid to get it wrong during this process. In fact, mistakes are one of your best friends in the reinforcement process. Application enables you to learn how the knowledge is implemented in real scenarios, and thus you become more concrete with your learning. Practice. Taking action is one of the most effective methods to place knowledge in your brain. Instead of mere consumption and assimilation reading or listening to, design an active learning process through the use of what you have learned, which comes back quicker and pushes your motivation. You understand how it worked from the experiences you are getting from your learning, and so your state of mind improves and you're more voracious to just do the darn thing. All right, learning is not that complicated as you think. You simply got to find the right methods to do that. Experiment with the techniques I have shown on you guys today. Notice the change in that life. Using these methods, learning will not first and foremost just be more fun, but easier too. Right now, I encourage you, through which field in you want to get better? When it comes to the skill which you would like to exercise using these methods, comment below and we can talk about it. Procrastination is your biggest enemy. Start now and enjoy the process.